Vietnam at 19 years old. When I was, if you can't hear me, tell me, I'll speak louder. I was a drill instructor in Quantico, Virginia one time also. All right. All right, no problem. Anyway, I answered the person. I said, you said pressure. I don't when you yell on you guys, it's you. Pressure, that's one way to get rid of you, know? I said, listen, when I was 20 years old, I was a squad leader in Vietnam on the DMZ. I'll send people, and some maybe people that related to some of y'all, down a trail, and they didn't come back. Now, you want to talk pressure? That's real pressure. We have men and women today under that kind of pressure. But I already did that in leadership in actual combat. I've been very, very blessed. I received a Purple Heart for wounds received in Vietnam, and I have a Bronze Star with a V for valor. It says I am a leader. The reason I got in the police, so I answered the gentleman in the gym, and that's the way I answered it, because I really got stepped back with it. Now, the other parts of this here thing, when Doug Gillespie decided to step down, I was the first person to put my hat in the ring. I really believe I have the knowledge, the skills, and the abilities to run this police department. I'm not only just a police officer. I had 24 years at Metro. Prior to that, I had 5 years with the Baltimore City Police Department. Some of my East Coast friends are here. So the idea is, also, I am now a business owner. I've not only been an employee, and just about every one of the candidates have been employees. I'm also an employer. You understand what that means? There's times I don't take a paycheck just so my employees get paid. It's been about 3 years now that we run a private investigating business, a process serving business, and a security business. We don't do the security business. I have a security license for it right now. I have 9 employees already in 3 years. Prior to that, I was the Las Vegas Township Constable. I was elected for 12 years. We walked into an office that at that time was about 90 years old, and just about for the entire 90 years it ran into red. After 12 years, when we left office, with all bills paid, we had $7.2 million in the bank. It didn't cost any of y'all a penny to run that office. And we handled a lot, and we were handling about $4 million of people's business a month. The buck stopped here when I was elected. I had to deal with the county commission. I had a national presence. I was voted a National Constable of the Year, and there's constables in 39 states, believe it or not. And I was the president of the National Constable Association for 2 years. I've been very, very blessed in a lot of things I do. My platform is really fiscal responsibility. I have that background for fiscal responsibility. Just by leaving a place with $7.2 million, there's not a county office around that could say that, except maybe the airport. I don't know how the airport runs, because it is an enterprise fund also. My big thing is the fiscal responsibility. Metro, when you start looking at it, when Metro walks up, and I hated to see the sheriff with hat in hand going in front of the county commission as many times as he had to do it with hat in hand. It is a new time. I dealt with the county commissioners. You walk in their offices and you tell them what you feel, what you need. I hear the word in 2014 of transparency. Transparency, it just means being honest. Be honest with the numbers. The numbers are very simple. If the sheriff walked in, and I know he has good CPAs, or he should have had good CPAs, somebody around him, if the sheriff walks in with a budget, gives it to the county commission, and the county commission guy says, oh, let's go and sit with your people and look at the numbers. And the numbers are totally different. There's somewhere between a $20 and an $80 million difference in numbers. That's not a good thing. I really have to see that the transparency of the money is the big deal. One of the things I really get at now, I know Mr. Strader, the sergeant on the fatality stuff, because he used to be a trainee on my training squad. If I could say that about a couple other candidates. But the idea is, he's on television all the time with fatalities or traffic fatalities. We got to come up with some kind of deal here. If you're from anywhere else in the country, 2 minutes. Okay, if you're from anywhere else in the country, I should only have 2 minutes. Anywhere else in the country, you drive in Ohio, you drive in Pennsylvania, you drive in New York, you pretty much follow the speed limit. all right? Because the police have it down that you follow the speed limit. That's a big deal. Their enforcement is tough, all right? It is engineering, education, and enforcement. I know that for traffic, not a problem. Engineering means we shouldn't be squeezing into all these little places on the highway that they just spent millions of dollars on. Engineering means if you're from Ohio or Pennsylvania or Kentucky or wherever, you don't have streets like our main streets here that are 6 lanes wide and they're 45 miles an hour and you're driving 7. So you're trying to stay up with the traffic and people are running red lights. There's got to be a better way of enforcement. There's got to be a better way of engineering. There's got to be a better way of educating the people. And there used to be the public service announcements. Everybody was supposed to get a certain amount of public service announcements. I don't really see them anymore on the police department. Well, I see a little bit of Mr. Bedwell from out in North Las Vegas, more than I see Metro. They're supposed to be free. There should be a presence from the Metro, a face of Metro coming out and saying, here's what is happening, here's what you need to do, here's what we're asking you to do, and here's how we're going to educate you. And if not, we're going to enforce the laws. And them tickets are expensive. That's a big deal. I don't want to keep going. You have questions, I'll go ahead and answer any questions you want. I've been in town for 40 years, and I'm very happy.
Right here.
Right there.
I can hear you. I'll report you.
You hear me now? All right. I appreciate everybody being here today. That's important for Kathy. But the question that I have for you and for the rest of the candidates, you know, it might be the same question. Just some allegations in the media that, can you please explain to us, because we're all adults here, we want to know the next sheriff, is he going to represent us? Because at the end of the day, you're representing this whole town. Can you please answer?
There's no allegations in the media, so tell me what you're talking about. I have no allegations against me in any media. Certain blogs that are on certain people's campaigns, apparently I'm a credible candidate, so I wouldn't be getting hit with all the lies. And they're lies. That's all I can tell you. How do I address something other than a lie? You can't stop a man from lying.
That's perfect. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I have a two-part question.
Next question.
Has to do with moving violations.
Okay.
All right, I just recently received a moving violation for speeding. All right.
Can't fix it.
All right. There's two problems. Obviously, we know we have an extremely corrupt system here when it comes to moving violations, because almost anybody who wants to can get it knocked down to a parking ticket.
Right.
So that to me, that's total corruption. Second is I felt I was entrapped. I was following behind a police officer on 215, and he slowed down and got behind me and gave me a ticket for speeding. I mean, to me, that is absolutely asinine. All right, that I could be behind a police officer. He's driving. He doesn't have lights on. Doesn't look like he's going anywhere. He slows down, gets behind me, and gives me a ticket for speeding. I mean, what kind of... Will you stop that kind of stuff?
Were you speeding?
Sure I was, but so was he.
Well, then, there you have it.
Yeah, I told him. I said,
I have no problem. Both parts of your question. I'll answer the first part first. The first part of the question was about how you get tickets knocked down to parking tickets. Okay, and if it was for everybody, it'd be great. Okay, because then everybody can go and do that there. And there used to be a court that did that, and I know there's still some courts that do that. And that is a court issue. The police officers write you the ticket. It's not the police officer that goes in front of that judge and says, "Hey, knock this down to a parking ticket." That's somebody else who has whatever ends they have with the courts, and that's your issue with the court. I'm being honest with you. Okay, as far as speeding or as far as traffic violations, you know, I was in a black and white for a long time. A long time.
We rode together.
and black and whites really don't get involved with that much enforcement, and that's a sad thing. They should. Again, we can talk about why and a whole lot of other reasons. There's a lot of different concepts of why. For a police officer to be speeding, let me tell you, how many times have you seen a police officer, and every police officer will tell you this, that rode black and white. You drive down the road, sometimes you're going faster than the speed limit because you're really going to a call that you cannot use your lights or your siren. You can't go code on some of these calls.
He obviously wasn't going to call because he had time to pull me over.
Well, no, and what happens, did you ever see one go in code, and all of a sudden they go through the red light, and then they shut everything down and just, and you go, that son of a bitch just wanted to get through the red light. That's the call saying, stop, we have it hampered, don't come no more. That happens, and it looks bad to you because you're waiting at the red light and they go around you, and look at, you got to be crazy to be a police officer to begin with. No matter what anybody says, you got to be crazy. You're usually speeding to a place. People have died speeding to a place that you might even get killed. And you're on your way speeding there. It's kind of crazy, okay? That's a whole different attitude. And so it's hard to say why a police officer was speeding and then slowed up to give you a ticket. I have a little problem with what your story tells me, but we don't know the whole story. Go ahead. There was a lady back there. I'm sorry.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I have a question about the NDAA. Would you, like he said earlier, the city and the county just passed a joint resolution to not abide if the feds come in and try to call martial law pretty much on the U.S. citizens or at least the county citizens. How do you feel about that, and what would you do?
I watched both of you on Channel 4 with that, so in case I had it taped. I'm a gooser. I had it taped. But I watched and you have a great point. And how do I feel about it? I'm right alongside of Gordon with this. American citizens don't have to be arrested like that. That's just wrong. Okay? It's just totally wrong. If you want to ask about the Constitution, I fought for the Constitution. I was a police officer for 29 years. I fought for the Constitution. I believe in constitutional rights of everybody.
Are you an oath keeper?
Pardon?
Are you an oath keeper?
No, I'm not. I don't belong to Oath Keepers.
Okay.
Last question for now. We'll get back to him.
That was last. Hi, Gordon.
One more.
Okay, Leo, you're last. Go ahead.
I could yell, but
We're
why?
still yelling at you.
So here's a question I'd like to pose to really everyone that's running for sheriff, because there's kind of two different types of police chiefs or sheriffs around the country. The ones that support the cops and the ones that don't. And in that group, there's also the ones that actually uphold the law and support the cops. And then there's the ones that support the cops and just let them do whatever they want. Ideally, we don't want somebody that is going to be, firing people for doing their jobs. When someone has to fire their weapons at somebody that deserves it, they shouldn't get in trouble. And too many cops get hung out to dry. So I want to see, for each of the candidates, what your thought process is on that, and protecting the officers at the same time protecting the public.
It's a tough ass job, being a cop, being a sheriff. Very tough, all right? Did I say ass? I'm sorry. It's a very tough job. Leo, thank you for the question. But the idea is, look, cops are human beings. We get our police officers from our society. All right? In our society, I hate to tell you, but it's not 100% good. We have problems. Some people fall through the cracks and don't deserve to be police officers. But they passed all the tests, did everything. For the most part, 99%, I would say, in all the years that I've been with police, and again, Ted and I rode together, Harry and I rode together. All I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know of anybody ever that got in that patrol car and said, I want to kill somebody today. I do not know that, okay? There has been some questionable shootings I would happy to talk to you about anytime, in a forum or by yourself. We're not going to get into it right now, all right? But the idea is, if you uphold the Constitution, that means you're upholding your rights and the police officer rights. That's a big deal. That's what it stands for. And until you're ever the defendant on the side of the table, you don't even know what your rights mean to you until you're a defendant. Or you live in another country, you don't get what your rights are. Or you're visiting another country and you get stopped. There's a lot of things that can happen. I hope I answered it, but the way I look at it, if you're wrong, you're wrong. You're out there burglarizing places, you're out there killing people, you're out there you're wrong. Nobody wants a crook on their police department. But I think you have to have the regular reviews, I think you have to have independent reviews. I have no problem with independent reviews of what we do as police officers. Okay.
Angel has been a family court marshal since 2006. He has 19 years experience in law enforcement, including as a police chief in Wendover, Utah. Angel is a member of the Judicial Protection Team and a use of force instructor for the Marshal Service. He's married with 5 children, 7 grandchildren. Please give him a nice hand of welcome.
For inviting me here.
Talk loud.
Come on.
And I do have 19 years law enforcement experience, 5 of those years as a chief of police officer. Even though it was a small department with 30 officers, I still was the administrator of that department. And you want to talk about budget control? I had to work with the budget that I had, and that was only like $300,000, okay? And I was able to pay the salary of the officers, get the equipment that I needed because of the control. We all have our wish list, but you have to have your priority. And that's what I did. I prioritized. Later on, I went on and looked for grants to get police cars, equipment, training. I made it work. Unfortunately, the city leaders had their issues and the city went bankrupt. But my thing is, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department is a great organization. We just got off kilter a little bit. And we just need to realign it, okay? There's a lot of issues with mistrust of the field officers or the foot officers and administration, okay? We need to work on that. There's a lot of barriers. We need to bring those barriers down, open the line of communication. But what is very important is that we tear down this wall and get back in with the community. We need to be open with the community, invite the community, get their input, because this is their police department. We are there serving the community, not ourselves. Community comes first. And like the old phrase, it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a community to run a police department. And that's my goal, is to get the community back involved, open that dialogue. Transparent. We have nothing to hide. Bring in the community. Okay. Right now, the department is reactive instead of proactive. Why? Why are we there? Because we've lost that human contact. Okay. With staying up with technology, we have the radios, we have the computers in the car. We're losing that contact, that one-on-one, that human contact with the officer and the community. Need to work on that. Okay. I understand the shortage of manpower, but you have to make it work. You have to go back, see what programs you can scale back, but the main focus needs to be on the community, their safety, gaining their trust back. Because if you don't invest in your community or with the community, when you go before the county commissioners, guess what? You're going to be up there by yourself. Invest in the community. You'll have backing with the community. Okay. I can't afford to pay any more taxes, and I know the community can at this time. We have to make it work. And I thank you.
This is a question probably most people appreciate. One thing, I've lived in this town for 17 years. I've never seen a police officer walk down my street. All right? Don't you think it's a good idea, even if they do it once a week or once a month, for a police officer to get out of the damn patrol car and go walk around and talk to people? That would be nice.
That's why I say we need to get back into the community. Okay? Here's what's interesting. Where I live, I've never seen a police car. Guess what? In the last 2 months, I see a police car almost every day now.
Because they know you're running.
That's the truth. Even my neighbors have commented.
They're watching it.
What is your opinion on police surveillance cameras in public, like the one that's on Fremont Street and Maryland Parkway?
Public cameras out in the public area on Maryland Parkway.
There's one police camera in town on Fremont Street and Maryland Parkway. What is your opinion on police surveillance cameras of the public?
That is a crime-fighting tool, okay? The camera's in plain sight. There's no expectation of privacy, okay?
Except that we're not subjects, and our government doesn't have the right to surveil us without our consent.
Okay. So, with the manpower that it is right now, would you be willing to jeopardize the rest of the community?
Yes.
Okay.
You don't even have to finish the question. Yes.
All right. So then you're for increasing the taxes.
That's an asinine statement.
No.
You're turning around what I said.
No.
The government doesn't have a right to surveil us, period.
Okay.
They should do a better job at fighting crime, and they don't need cameras to do it. They were doing it without cameras for, I don't know, 150 years or so. So saying that I don't want electronic surveillance isn't the same as saying I want higher crime. One doesn't necessarily have to do with the other.
Okay. All right.
What about mandatory vest cameras for the police officers?
We can't hear the question.
How do I feel about officers wearing the webcams? Okay? And the public filming the officers while there's an incident going on. Okay? I'm all for the officers wearing the webcams. Okay? So they can also document what is going on. So when you do have that bystander that's also filming, we can all bring that into the investigation. Okay? You have the officers that have nothing to hide. They're going to wear it. They're going to turn on their webcam. You have maybe those few that are questionable. They're going to turn it off. So then we have to go in that direction. But I'm all for it. Protecting the officer. You know, protecting everybody. Let's get all the evidence and have a thorough investigation.
I believe that, how do you feel about a much larger internal affairs in the equation of the police department?
A larger internal affairs. Personally, I don't know how many detectives or investigators they have in that.
33.
How many? 33 investigators. What I would like to implement is a independent review board. Somebody not connected with the police department. And in my eyes, what I would love to see is a defense attorney and a civil rights attorney and members from the community. Why the defense attorney? He's a defense attorney. He'll be looking out on the defense side, the officer. The civil rights attorney, was there any civil rights violation? And leaders or members of the community, give them a copy of the policy and procedure manual so they can read it. Give them a copy of the Nevada Revised Statute so they can review it. Let the attorneys go over the legal ramifications, and the members from the community chime in, listen, and be able to follow what's going on in the process. That's what I would like to see. Yes, sir. Where's that?
Last question. Sure.
Yes, I have a question on that. This is concerning about the
I'm sorry.
Our current sheriff is advocating for a raise in tax to allocate $22.5 million more. What is your stand on that? And because there's a concern that that money might be used for only to give raise to the police officers for the union. So what is your opinion on that, and what would you do if you were sheriff?
That's another disadvantage that I have right now because I'm not current with what the budget is right now. But like I said, we really need to get a hold of the budget. We are just now coming out of a recession. Okay? Like I said, I understand the man shortage, okay, the manpower shortage. But we need to work with what we have. Okay? The officers, do they deserve a raise? Yes. Right now, I couldn't say, because like I said, we're just coming out of a recession. And I don't exactly know what's in that budget right now. So that's the best answer I can give you right now. Thank you.